Did you set a New Year's resolution this year or a bit of a goal or an intention for 2024? Was it something to do with health or exercise? Did you set a goal to brush your teeth more? I'm going to let you ponder that while I introduce myself. Hi, my name is Abby and I am a women's health and fitness coach. I specialise in using exercise or movement as a tool to help with our mental well-being. And I believe that movement, fitness, exercise is the ultimate form of self-care and self-love. And I'm videoing this today on Valentine's Day. Traditionally a day of love, statistically a day where New Year's resolutions go to die. So if you are struggling to build and maintain a healthy exercise routine or some healthy habits, you're not alone. The most common reason people come to me is because they want accountability and motivation. And I'd like to make motivation really simple. So let me ask you a question. Do you brush your teeth every day? Do you need motivation to brush your teeth? I think if we looked at the simple act of brushing our teeth, we could find the art of motivation. So even though I'm a fitness coach, I'm not a fitness freak. In fact, my favourite things to do are reading, watching movies, crafting. So my default setting is sitting. And it's not easy for me to get moving either. But I do think we can make it really simple. So let's get into it, shall we? I'd like to chat about my framework. We're super techie here. To build a happy, healthy lifestyle. So my first question for you that relates to this is, do you always feel like brushing your teeth? But you do it anyway, don't you? So what needs to come first? Do we need to feel motivated to act, or should we just get going and the motivation and the momentum will build? So when it comes to exercise, should we wait to feel like moving, or should we just get moving and then build momentum and then feel motivated to move more? Now, I would love to ask you to join me actually. So if you are sitting down, stand up. If you're standing up, that's perfect. And we are just going to pretend we're going to sit on a chair and stand back up, and sit down and stand back up, and sit down and stand back up. One more time. All right, and then we're going to do a few quick fast feet. I'm trying not to go too hard out because it'll probably wobble everything, including the video. And then pretend that you're giving a few people a high five, because it's always fantastic to build our happiness by connecting with others. All right, so you have just done a whole wonderful body activity. You've bent down and used your legs. You've got oxygen flowing through your system, so you're using your heart and your lungs, your cardiovascular system. And if you pushed and pulled with your arms, you've done the two best movements that you could do with your upper body. How great is that? And if you did get up with me, which I'm hoping you did, how do you feel now that you've had a little burst of activity? So that is the A. Action. Take action. Now, do you need to remember to brush your teeth? Like, do you put it on a checklist or your to-do list or on your calendar or set an alarm? Probably not, right? And that's because it's a habit. You do it at the same time in the same place every day, twice a day, probably. And you probably do it directly after or directly before something. For example, you might have it directly after your morning coffee, and you might do it obviously directly before bed. Interestingly, actually funny, this morning, my brother-in-law was staying with me and he left and then he came back. And I said, did you forget something? He said, yeah, I forgot to brush my teeth. And that's because he's out of routine, right? He's not in his normal way of having his morning happening because he's staying with me. So how can we do the same for exercise? How can we make it a habit? So same thing, we want to do it in the same time at the same place, usually directly before or directly after something that you already do so that it's easy to slot it in. My back neighbours, I see them every morning. They go for a walk past my front gate. They must go into town. Sometimes they must do errands because they come back with their groceries. And I'm sure that they probably do that directly after their morning coffee or directly after they brush their teeth. It's part of their everyday life, right? Now, I get it. You probably don't have time to go for a walk every morning. I don't have time to go for a walk every morning. I'm a single mum, I've got young kids, there's no way that's happening. So what can you do, and how can you fit it in with the natural rhythm and routine of your daily life? So I'm going to give you a few examples. When you boil the kettle in the morning, could you do some push-ups against the vent? When you stand up from sitting down for having breakfast, could you do a few extra squats? Could your hallway become a racetrack? So instead of walking down it, you actually run or at least do a few extra fast feet. When you do your groceries, could you pick up a couple of extra bags of groceries and try and carry the heaviest load you can so that you actually get some strength training in once a week? One of my favorite things to do is the line between my dining room lino and my hallway carpet. I like to do some forward and backwards fast feet, because how do you feel when you do have a burst of activity? And how do you feel when you don't? So my next one is add. And I know what you're thinking. You're going to think that I'm going to say add more time. But if you're really busy one morning and you've got to rush out the door for whatever reason, do you just skip brushing your teeth? Or do you use what time you have to do the best job you have? And why couldn't we do the same with exercise? Whatever time you do have, could you just make the most of it? And that's more to do with my add. Does it make more sense? If you want to get fit really fast, does it make more sense to add more time to your exercise regime or to add more effort? Now, the New Zealand government guidelines suggest that we should be doing 150 minutes of moderate activity across our week. That time halves to 75 if we're prepared to add a little bit of intensity to that movement. So what the government's telling us is that we get the same health benefits in half the time if we're prepared to put in a little bit more oomph. Now, the other super exciting thing here is that physiologically we can actually only go at our maximum capacity for 10 seconds. Have you heard that before? This is our fight or flight energy system. It only lasts 10 seconds. It's there to save our life, right? People do superhuman feats when their life is threatened, and that's what that energy system is for. It's there to go as quickly as it can and give us all the energy that our body is holding so that we can use it to save our own life. Now, after 10 seconds, our body has to start recreating energy. So it has to use energy to create energy. So we physically have to slow down. So if you are short on time and you're prepared to put some effort in, then you only need to do that for 10 seconds. How cool is that? And then you rest and you recover, and then you go again when you're ready. And it doesn't matter how long that recovery window is, because the thing that is getting you fitter is, of course, what? The effort, not the time. Which leads me beautifully to my next point, which you're gonna love, because I do. Pause. When are our teeth the cleanest, and when do they repair themselves the most? When we sleep, right? And could the same be true for exercise? Like I just said, the rest and recovery is really important between your bursts of activity. So within a workout, the rest breaks are important. You don't need to just go, 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 because if you did that, is it possible that you'd start with a bang, but you'd peter out? Whereas if you went and had a rest and recovery, could you go again with a really decent amount of effort and then rest and recover and go again? Yeah, and the more effort you put in, right, the longer those rest breaks need to be. So yes, sleep is crucial for our body to break itself down and build itself back up again, stronger and fitter if we've stressed it in a good way. So good stress is where we challenge the body just a little bit more than it's done in the past, and then it will adapt for us. Have you ever said, I'm too tired to brush my teeth, but you do it anyway? Could it be possible that you're focusing on the result of brushing your teeth? You're focusing on that squeaky clean feeling, and you're focusing on the long-term benefits of having a consistent brushing routine. So why aren't we doing the same for exercise? What if we focused on the positive? What if we focused on the aftermath of exercise? Because how do you feel when you move? And how do you feel when you don't? And I've got another little positive mindset spin here. You might have noticed that I've avoided using the word exercise a little bit, and I've tended to replace it with physical activity or movement. And that's because I think a lot of us think exercise, we think strenuous, hard, difficult, challenging. And whilst all of those things can be good things, of course, and we could spin them in a positive way, what if instead of calling it exercising, we called it energizing? Could it be possible that it would be more exciting to say, hey, I'm just going energizing? And isn't that what we're doing? We're asking our body to move with a little bit of effort so that it refills its batteries bigger and stronger so that we've got more energy for later. Now, my last point, and I was an English teacher in a previous life, so it's not surprising that I'm digging into language here, but I think words matter because what we say becomes how we feel, right? So the definition of motivation, what is it? It's simply a reason or reasons to act or behave in a particular way. So we might think that motivation is a feeling and it comes from inside and it's a spark or it's an emotion, but it's actually really logical. So why do you brush your teeth? Now, obviously you can't speak back to me through the camera, so I'm going to list some reasons off the top of my head. 1, it feels good afterwards. 2, I know the importance of looking after my teeth because it's going to keep them stronger for longer. It's going to prevent any kind of breakdown. It's going to prevent painful procedures where I might need something taken out. I might need something replaced, and that is not going to be very comfortable. And don't our teeth just feel better when they're super clean? Now, could those be the same reasons we should exercise? Don't we feel better after we've done a burst of activity? Won't our body be stronger for longer if we use the muscles we have? You know the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that is so true for muscle and bone, especially for women after the age of 35. Our body is declining in terms of muscle mass and bone strength. And of course, if we don't maintain them, we are at risk of injuries, broken bones, broken hips. Again, same as our teeth. We might need hip and knee replacements if we don't look after the one body we have. So could exercise be the ultimate form of self-love? This is how I started. When I had 2 kids under 2 and I was doing nothing with my body, I was sad, I was exhausted, I was anxious, and I was so far from the mum I wanted to be. I knew I needed to do something, and getting out of the house with 2 children and trying to have a big long workout, which is what I thought I had to do, was out of the question. When I looked at my history, I'd been a gymnast and I'd been a competitive aerobics athlete. And both those times were the times when I've been the fittest and the strongest in my life. And guess what? I never did any more than 2 minutes of movement at a time. Of course, those 2 minutes were impactful. They were effortful. They were intense. But I didn't need to be that fit and strong when I had 2 kids under 2. I just needed to be a little bit more energetic than I was. So I didn't need to do 2 minutes. I could start with what I could do with the time I did have. So I started with some squats in the kitchen while I was cooking dinner. And that obviously became a bit of a habit. And once I'd got that kind of sorted, I tried to add a few more activities. I tried to run up the hallway with my kids. I tried to say yes to them whenever they asked to do some kind of movement or get outside. I focused on rest. As a new mum, obviously trying to get enough sleep was huge. And I looked for the positive. I looked for the way that exercise helped me feel, because in the moment, obviously it was very hard to get moving. I was really tired, but I knew that I would always feel better after 10 squats, after 10 push-ups against the bench, after a quick run down the hallway. So that's a bit of my why and how Actively Happy came to be. What's your why? How much more could you love your life if you had more energy? How much more could you spend that energy with the people you love? How different would your life be if you were fitter, stronger, and more energetic? So what action could you take today, immediately before or immediately after something you already do, so that you start making movement a habit, just like brushing your teeth? Could you build up to 2 minutes twice a day?